Hey, welcome to For You Radio, where the gospel's for the believer and the unbeliever alike. Even Troy. I'm Craig D'Onofrio, pastor of St. James Lutheran Church in the old Brooklyn neighborhood of Cleveland, Ohio. You look like you were about to protest something right there.
I was.
So the gospel's not for you? Is that what you're saying?
Does that put me into one or the other categories or some sort of strange third category?
Yes. Saint and sinner. That's you. I'm the pastor of St. James Lutheran Church in the old Brooklyn neighborhood of Cleveland, Ohio. Come visit us 10:15 a.m. on Sundays.
Okay, very good.
Love to see you.
I am the saint and sinner who preaches at St. Peter's Lutheran Church, Shaker Heights, Ohio.
Yes. And about 9:30.
About 9:30 or so.
Give or take. Give or take, yeah.
Well, we expressed this last time. I can virtually guarantee it will never start earlier than 9:30.
Well, there you go.
Although I might just do it for a gag this Sunday.
Sometimes we start like 10:31 every now and then, just to mix it up.
I might start at 9:27 this Sunday.
Oh no, you can't.
Just to really throw people off.
Anyway, we are happy to be part of 1517.org, who sponsors this program. Go check out 1517.org. Wonderful, wonderful podcasts, videos, classes. Do Chad Bird's class on Christ in the Old Testament. You will not be sorry that you did. Anywho, Troy, if people wanted to email us, what would they type in their email address thingy?
I lost it.
For you radio at 1517.org.
Thank you.
Troy, if people wanted to find us on the internet, what would they type into their browser thingy?
Their browser thingy. https www.foryouradio.org.
Foryouradio.org.
Org.
Matthew 27 is where we are today.
Yes,
we are excited. We are pressing on, and soon we will be done with the book of Matthew, but not done with the gospel at all. So, what has happened? What has transpired? Jesus has been betrayed into the hands of the chief priests and the elders. They have had a kangaroo court. They have condemned him as a blasphemer. They smacked him around. Peter did what Jesus said he would do, betrayed him 3 times. Judas did what Judas did. He sold Jesus for 30 pieces of silver.
Well, he did what Jesus said he would do.
Yeah.
As it was written about him. Yeah.
So we descend, or should I say we ascend to the cross as we move forward here.
A little bit of both, I think. There's a descending ascent, right?
As it were.
And, I got to say, I feel a little bit weird about this because you and I are sort of picking up from our regular pace. Normally, we just kind of poke through a few verses at one time. Right. And now we're actually, we're picking up our pace even as Matthew slows his pace down. But I feel okay about that because what we're attempting to do is get more of that big swoop of the narrative that Matthew is pulling all together for us rather than picking it apart piece by piece.
Yeah, as you point out, these are longer chapters. The last chapter was 75 verses. This one's 66 verses. So Matthew's giving us more detail, but it's detail in chunks. So there's a big chunk of detail, and so that's one of the reasons that we're picking things up.
Well, yeah, and if you
plus I'd like to finish Matthew before I die.
Well, yeah, but I think more important than that, if we kind of piecemeal this out, if we look at each little individual piece, you miss the grand sweep of the narrative.
Yeah,
which is ultimately to say, look at all that Christ has done for you.
Yeah, well, and I want to also point out, as I have many times before, that the chapters and verse breaks are something manufactured later in history. These Gospels, the whole Bible, the New Testament in particular, they didn't even use spaces between the words. So I mean, this is very manufactured, and it's manufactured for scholarship, for the case of scholarship. And once again, it's sad when people will take one verse out of context and try to build a whole doctrine or prove something with one verse out of its context.
Are you saying I'm doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
So here, Troy, build a doctrine out of verse 5 here. And throwing down the pieces of silver into the temple, he departed and went and hanged himself. Right. There you go. That proves it. Whatever it is. Okay. So enough of that.
Well, no. Okay, no, we'll pass it over. I know this old stupid joke about the guy leafing through the Bible, right? Yeah. Oh, okay, never mind.
Jesus hanged himself, go and do likewise.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Okay,
but that's what happens when you proof text and you try to build doctrines.
But all that you're saying about chapters and verses still, even in Matthew's gospel, however, he is still slowing down regardless of chapters because he's picking up on numerous details. He's slowing down remarkably in time. So, just kind of word for word, there's a greater weight to all that he's saying.
Right. And greater context as we go along, right? Yes. So you need to take these chunks in their context. So let's do that right now. When morning came, all the chief priests and the elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. And they bound him and led him away and delivered him over to Pilate the governor. Then when Judas, his betrayer, saw that Jesus was condemned, he changed his mind and brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and the elders, saying, I have sinned by betraying innocent blood. They said, what is that to us? See to it yourself. And throwing down the pieces of silver into the temple, he departed and went and hanged himself. But the chief priests, taking the pieces of silver, said, it is not lawful to put them into the treasury, since it is blood money. So they took counsel and bought with them the potter's field as a burial place for strangers. Therefore, that field has been called the field of blood to this day. Then was fulfilled what had been spoken by the prophet Jeremiah, saying, and they took 30 pieces of silver, the price of him on whom a price had been set by some of the sons of Israel, and they gave them for the potter's field as the Lord directed me. So we'll stop there, verse 10.
Okay.
Judas, things didn't quite go the way that he thought that things were going to go, apparently.
Apparently, they went a little bit too far, right? So verse 1, all the chief priests and elders took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. And Judas says, apparently, ooh, I didn't think that was going to happen.
I didn't think you guys were serious about that.
Right, yeah.
He saw that Jesus was condemned. He changed his mind and brought back the money. I can't help but to wonder if he was trying to purchase Jesus back with the money, perhaps.
I don't know. Is he saying, well, here's your 30 pieces of silver, give me Jesus back? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well,
Call off the dogs.
I'm returning,
right.
I'm coming back to the shop with your 30 pieces. I'd like my Jesus back, please.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if that's what's going on or not, but it seems that that's plausible.
It's plausible, but by this time, though, they're already leading Jesus away to Pilate the governor.
Yeah.
So,
things got out of control.
Well, you know what? We can at least agree on this, that Judas is trying to undo what he has done.
Yes.
And what is quite fascinating to me is that although he has set in motion the very thing that would have ultimately provided Judas with the forgiveness of sins.
Isn't that interesting?
Although he set that in motion, he still is trying to kind of fix this on his own.
That's very profound because we all have this sense of, I can do this. I need no man. Yeah. I can do this. What's happening here, I don't really need God to help me. I can take care of this. And the reality is, no, you can't.
Or even possibly, I messed up this time, Lord, but I'll make it up to you. Right.
Right.
Exactly. Right.
And Jesus says, why should you make it up to me when I've already paid for that?
Yeah.
It's taken care of. But to receive forgiveness is very difficult sometimes. And here, instead of seeking forgiveness, Judas tries to go into action and undo.
Oh, yeah. And what a shame, because if he had just held on for a few more days, look at what he would have seen happen in the end, right? But this is what we sometimes call the sin of despair. where you no longer believe not only that you are sad, but you no longer believe that God's mercy is for you,
Right.
and that He has no mercy for you at all.
Given the age of COVID and all this other stuff, a lot of people have been really taken to a place of despair recently. And we need a little perspective on this. Just because you're sad, does that mean Jesus did not die on the cross for you? Just because you're depressed, does that mean that Jesus didn't rise from the dead for you? No, you're sad and you're depressed, and that's sad and depressing, but the Savior is still good, and He's still there for you. So if you're having any problems like that, there's hope, and things will get better.
And that's exactly it. Judas can't see that hope, can he?
Right, no, he can't.
And yet Jesus will go to the cross, even for Judas.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in verse 5, he went and hanged himself, and there's a big part of me that really hopes that as he stepped off the stool or the cliff or whatever to hang himself, that perhaps he said, "Jesus, forgive me," as he did so. I've had a good friend who committed suicide, and in his suicide letter, he said, "The only hope I have now is Christ. I've lost all other hope." And what a terrible thing, but what a blessing also to know that he died in faith, and he wasn't right in the head at this point, and that's just all there is to it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
well, I cannot speak for Judas. We just don't have enough evidence there. But there is certainly, as long as Christ is alive, there is always hope.
Yeah.
And Christ is most definitely alive.
Yeah, indeed he is. So,
just can we zigzag just a little bit there?
Yep.
Just this delicious piece of irony right there in the middle. So Judas throws the silver back into the temple, and the chief priests take up that silver and says, "Oh, we can't put this into the treasury. It's blood money.
Right.
It's not lawful." And I'm just like, irony much? Because it came out of the treasury to begin with. It was okay for you to pay for blood money in that case, but now you can't receive it.
Right.
And it's just this sort of weird nitpicking at little pieces of the law, which, again, this thing that we all do where we say, "Oh, here's a piece of God's law that I can manage and do." And I'm going to kind of completely gloss over all this other stuff.
Right. So, was it wrong that we paid 30 pieces of silver for this man's blood? But it's wrong that we take it back.
Exactly.
It doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. Something doesn't mesh there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a major disconnect there.
Yeah.
And there should not be.
Yeah. And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him on whom a price had been set by some of the sons of Israel, and they gave them for the potter's field as the Lord directed me. Oh, this is God's will. We should buy this field with his blood money. Because we can't put it back in the treasury.
Oh, yeah, but that's
it's interesting. The Lord directed us to kill the Son of God.
Oh, no, yeah,
to buy this field.
But that's the fulfillment of the prophet Jeremiah, right?
Right.
That's what you just read.
Yeah.
And so even though they do all this, they are not fully aware that they are just fulfilling Scripture.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
right,
they're actually doing Jesus' will at this point, and they don't even realize it. They think they're doing their own thing.
Well, for that matter, Judas didn't realize that either, did he?
No. And that's sad that he didn't find that out this side of the grave.
Ooh, okay.
Push on?
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
Verse 11. You want to read?
Yeah. Now Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus said, "You have said so." But when he was accused by the chief priests and elders, he gave no answer. Then Pilate said to him, "Do you not hear how many things they testify against you?" But he gave him no answer, not even to a single charge, so the governor was greatly amazed. Pause there really quick and just 2 comments. What you got for 2 comments, Craig?
I'm going to say this. As a police chaplain, everybody's got a story. It's interesting. Right. You're in the cop car and the officer you're with put someone in handcuffs and put him in the back seat, and I'm sitting there by myself with him for a minute. And, oh, Father, you got to understand, a unicorn ran through my yard, and it's just like crazy stuff. But everyone's got a story except Jesus.
Yeah.
When you're facing this kind of discipline, this kind of penalty, you make up whatever story you got to make up to get out of it, but not Jesus. Right.
Well, and for that matter too, I think there's take that same thought and go one step deeper with it. None of the things that they accuse him of are true, except for Pilate's first question, are you the king of the Jews, right? So none of the things they accuse him of are true. So he will go to his death. He knows perfectly innocent. And yet he keeps silent because it is not his own innocence that he wants to protect, but he wants to grant us ours. He wants to restore innocence to us.
Yeah.
So to take our guilt upon him.
As we go along here, one of the things that stands out to me is Pilate was a brutal dictator in the area, but he looks for reasons to let Jesus go. He sees that this man is truly innocent, and I think Pilate actually likes him. And I can't help but to wonder after the resurrection what Pilate thought. I'm sure that all the reports came to him that Jesus guy rose from the dead, which kind of goes along with what his wife says to him here in a little bit. So, yeah.
Yeah. We know a little bit of Pilate's history after the crucifixion and resurrection, but I can't think of exactly what happened. He ends up losing his post before too long.
Yeah, if I remember right, he was given the option of slit your own wrist or we will kill you in an ugly way. And that was the way of the Romans back then.
Sure.
If you displease the Caesar, even by looking at him sideways, or even if he thought that you did and you didn't, you would have, if you were in the upper echelons, you would have your option, do it yourself or we'll do it for you. And it's going to be much worse if we do. So if I'm not mistaken, Pilate ended up in a bathtub and with a slit wrist. So there you go.
All right. More despair.
Yeah.
Verse 15. Now, at the feast, the governor was accustomed to release for the crowd any one prisoner whom they wanted. And they had a notorious prisoner called Barabbas. So when they had gathered, Pilate said to them, whom do you want me to release for you, Barabbas or Jesus, who is called Christ? For he knew it was out of envy that they had delivered him up. Besides, he was sitting on the judgment seat. His wife sent word to him, have nothing to do with that righteous man, for I have suffered much because of him today in a dream. Now the chief priests and elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and destroy Jesus. The governor again said to them, which of these two do you want me to release for you? And they said, Barabbas. Pilate said to them, what shall I do with Jesus, who is called Christ? They all said, let him be crucified. And he said, why? What evil has he done? But they shouted all the more, let him be crucified.
Yeah. So here, once again, Pilate, he's like, well, look, this guy might be a little nutty. He thinks that he's the Son of God, but he's not harmful. He's not, he doesn't have an army trying to take over the region or anything like that. He's got a lot of followers, but they're a mostly peaceful crowd. Ignore the fire in the back, but they're mostly peaceful. Ignore Peter with his sword in the garden, but they're mostly peaceful.
Right, yes.
So anyway, sorry, bad pun.
Yes, yeah.
I apologize.
But
that was wrong of me.
Okay. But once again, here's another really interesting thing going on here. Who is innocent and who is guilty, and who knows it?
Well, Pilate knows who's innocent.
And who's guilty.
And his wife knows because she was apparently given a vision by God. She calls him that righteous man.
Sure.
Which she confesses who Jesus is rightly before anyone else does, it seems.
Right.
He's the only righteous one.
He is the righteous one. You're right. Barabbas also no doubt knows.
Yes, Barabbas knows.
Jesus, of course, knows.
Well, and all of the Sanhedrin there that did this whole thing, they know.
Well, they don't think Jesus is innocent, though.
No, they don't, because he's upset them.
Right, yeah. But so there's this whole sort of guilt and innocence thing, and yet it's clear through what Matthew has told us that Jesus is perfectly innocent, as we said before. And yet this is going forward, and he is inevitably being led to his death. It occurs to me there's a mirror here of the Day of Atonement, in which there was two goats. One is the scapegoat, in which all the sins of the people are placed upon the goat, and then the goat is sent away. Well, Jesus is the one who is taking all their sins upon him, and he, by the end of this day, he will have granted atonement for all.
Isn't the scapegoat sent into the wilderness to die with the sins of the people attached to it, basically?
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that interesting that Jesus, the Lamb of God, comes into our world to die with the sins of everyone attached to him?
Attached to him,
right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So, yeah,
He's
exactly what you're saying.
outside of the city, away, right?
Yeah.
All that. Exactly.
Oh, good point. Yeah, even that, he's out of the city.
Kind of the wilderness, as it were, there.
Yeah. Near wilderness. Kind of suburban wilderness, I guess.
Nearderness. Thank you. Yeah. But again, just so the portrayal there of Jesus being perfectly innocent, and we all know it because Matthew's just drawing that out.
Right. Pilate said, verse 22, Pilate said to them, "Then what shall I do with Jesus who's called Christ?" And they all said, "Let him be crucified." He said, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they shouted all the more, "Let him be crucified."
Yeah.
Mob justice. It's just, no, we're not going to reason with you. Just kill the man. For crying out loud, kill him. Interesting also, Barabbas, that name, Bar Abba, son of the Father. He's known in some places in history as Jesus Barabbas, Jesus, the son of the Father. So you have a real son, Jesus, son of the Father, and a criminal, Jesus, son of the Father. Interesting also in that, perhaps, I just thought of this, but he who knew no sin became sin so that we might be the righteousness of God. Jesus alone is righteous, and yet here is one who is sinful.
Oh, yeah.
And Jesus becomes sin so that we might be the righteousness of the Father.
Sure.
I'm not saying that Barabbas was nailed to the cross by accident or anything. That's a whole crazy theory right there.
There's this neat little symbolism tucked into that name. And in what happens here is that the innocent man condemned, the guilty man goes free.
Yes, just like us.
Just like us, actually. Yes.
We are Barabbas.
Well, are we not then?
Yes.
Don't we learn that from the opening of Gospel of John, that he gives us the power to become children of God? In other words, Bar Abba. Yes.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Nice. That'll preach.
Well done.
That'll preach.
Well played, sir. Well, let's press on. 24. So when Pilate saw he was gaining nothing, but rather that a riot was beginning, mostly peaceful, he took water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, "I'm innocent of this man's blood. See to it yourselves." And all the people answered, "His blood be on us and our children." Let's read that again. "His blood be on us and our children."
Yes.
Let that set in for a second here. Okay. Then he released for them Barabbas, and having scourged Jesus, delivered him to be crucified.
Yeah. So, my first initial reaction here, I'm going to wash my hands of this matter.
Yep.
Yeah, because that works, right?
Well, okay.
See, look, I've washed my hands. I'm innocent. Yeah.
Dr. Paul Meyer makes it a really good point here. There was this club called Friends of Caesar. And it's for real. I mean, he had a ring and all this, not a decoder ring, but it was a club, club ring. And you had 3 strikes as a friend of Caesar. You could offend Caesar 3 times, but after the third one, you have to do what Pilate ended up doing. You either kill yourself or we'll do it for you. According to Dr. Meyer, at this point, Barabbas already had 2 strikes on him.
Pilate?
That's what I said.
Yes.
Pilate had 2 strikes on him. Thank you. And he knows if he upsets these Jews enough, they're going to scream to Caesar again about how this man claims to be the Son of God and the King of the Jews. And Pilate is in league with this guy, and that would be strike 3 for Pilate, and he's out. So Pilate is kind of in a corner, and at this point, it's either Jesus or me for Pilate. Yeah. And so a little sympathy for the man here.
Little sympathy for the devil.
well, even though he was a cruel dictator in the region, who crucified a lot of people for no good reason. But aside from that.
But the better thing than that is that amazing thing that the people say, his blood be on us and our children.
Yes. We have about a minute left,
Yes.
but we need to meditate on that deeply.
Yes.
So what do you say about his blood?
Well,
be on
to
us and our
say,
children?
so as we meditate upon this, just part with this idea then, that is precisely what we want.
Yes.
The blood of the sacrifice sprinkled upon us, making us holy.
Yeah, they're saying we'll take responsibility for this, but little do they know that they are invoking the grace of God with this.
Yeah.
And they don't even know it. They think that they're, being smart here, but his blood be on us. May it be so. May the blood of Christ be on each one of us and on our children and our children's children unto the ultimate generation. May our country be sprinkled with the blood of Christ. May our world be sprinkled with the blood of Christ, that all would believe in him, that all would be redeemed, that sacrificial blood of the Lamb would have its way with everyone.
Because that is precisely why he came.
It is.
And that's precisely why he's come to this very moment.
And it's ironic as all get out.
Well, there is that. Yes.
We're out of time. God's peace. For You Radio is a 1517.org production. To listen to this radio broadcast and broadcasts like this one, I invite you to visit 1517.org. There you will also find many publications and free resources, including classes on Christian apologetics, church history, philosophy, and so much more. We are completely funded by generous donors like you. Would you consider making a generous gift to our work of spreading the gospel? Simply visit 1517.org.